My girlfriend and I took a blood pact at age 11. We slashed our fingers and mixed our blood and vowed that we would become writers. Well, she became a social worker, and I became a nurse, but I never gave up writing.
I've changed my way of seeing things. It's for the better, I'm sure. This love that I'm feeling, I feel it more.
All right, my name is Ruth Wire, and my artistic passion has always been writing or words. I love words. Um, when I was a little girl, my mother read to me from Heidi and Little Women and books like that. And I became very attached to other people's writing. And then my girlfriend and I took a blood pact at age 11. We slashed our fingers and mixed our blood and vowed that we would become writers. Well, she became a social worker. I became a nurse, but I never gave up writing. I was writing all my life from age 11 on. My first novel was called White Goddess of the Amazon, if you can imagine. It was sheer comic book fun. And I thought, heck, it was okay for a kid 11 or 12 years old. But then I looked back on it and laughed myself sick because, I thought that was so good. To tell you the truth, I never wanted to be anything but a writer, but reality took hold. And I realized that I couldn't make a living as a writer because I didn't have the drive to write and get paid for it because I was too shy to ask people to pay me for my writing. So I followed my girlfriend into nursing, and we both became nurses. But I kept writing, and I was the editor of the Tongue Blade, which was the it was the what do you call it? The official newspaper of our class, which was 1953B, and I would take ads. People would want to sell something, and they'd send me the words, and I'd put it in the newsletter and that kind of thing. And also poetry. I was doing a lot of poetry then, and I would publish my own poems and other people's poems also in the Tongue Blade. There was never any question of copyright. We didn't do that then. We were kids, it was fun. And whenever somebody wanted something written, they would come to me. So I was kind of known as the scribe of the class. And then later, when I was a nurse, much later, I began, in addition to my duties as a nurse, I started two theaters in Ashland and that kind of thing. In the sixth grade, I wrote the first thing I ever wrote, which was the sixth grade play. And then when I was in junior high, I got a poem published in their newsletter. And then in high school, I took creative writing and wrote some real trashy stuff that would go into like the Saturday Evening Post. Only at that time, great writers were being published by the Saturday Evening Post. So I didn't know what was going on. But when I was in married life with children, I began to write novels. And so I started writing because I went to this class at Venice High School that only cost 25 cents to belong to. It was called commercial writing. And the teacher said, I'm going to teach you how to make a lot of money on one sentence. And that is, I like ketchup because. And if you can answer that and add to it another few words, you might win $50 or more, And so, okay, let's do that. She introduced us to a lady who kept winning constantly. She lived in Venice, and I lived in Mar Vista, very close in California. And we went to her house, and her whole house was full of things she won. Like on the walls were plaques saying she won this for Lux Theater, for Lux Soap. She won this for, this or that or contest she entered. And I was very curious, and I said, what, give me an example of something, one liner that, you won a trip to Hawaii on, for instance. And she said, okay, she said, uh, con- was it Conchita, banana, appealing inside and appealing outside. And she won a trip to Hawaii on that. So I thought to myself, my God, I can do that. So I sent in a whole bunch, about 10 of them, Burma shave signs, and it was at the time of the beatniks in the late 50s. And I won $2 and, and a bunch of Burma shave. And my ex-husband was so mad because he didn't like Burma shave. So, but still, the teacher was so thrilled with me. She says, nobody wins the Burma shave contest except known poets. She said, how did you do that? And I thought, well, I just took the beatniks, Billy Beatnik was heard to rave. I shaved off my beard with Burma shave. Or put your, let's see, well, never mind. I've forgotten those, but there were about 10 of them. And so I did pretty well on commercial. And so the teacher said, I said something about, there's more to writing than commercial writing. I said, I've just gone to this workshop that has all these people that were expelled from their jobs by McCarthy. And I was in that Unitarian workshop, and all these playwrights and screenwriters were there because they didn't have jobs anymore. They were thrown out. And I thought to myself, okay, now wait a minute. What are they writing? And I come to find out that they were writing some really deep, heavy stuff and fantastic. And I thought, what are you playing around with these lightweight stuff? Get into this. So I was given in the commercial group, she said, I'd like to know a little bit about your life. And so write me a little 10-page thing about what it was like for you growing up. So I did that. And that became the basis of a play and novels and this whole series of novels. And this is one of them. It's called Love Among the Grown-Ups. And it was about a love affair that I had that I turned into fiction. And this gentleman here was the love interest. And I was, as you can see, I was dizzy with emotion. I couldn't see anything because I'd never been in love before, even with my husband. I was so in love with him. I did anything it took to be with him. So those were the tumultuous 60s. And I left my husband and went back to work with 3 kids on board. And that was the bravest thing I've ever done. Well, I'd written a play about an experience that I had with a young man who was a genius. I met him when he was 17 and I was in my 50s. And together we started a theater here in Ashland, Oregon. It was, in reality, it was called New Playwrights Theater, but after he passed away, I wrote a play about him. It's called Spit in the Beer, and it's all about his confused life. He was bisexual and did not accept the part of him that was gay. And he was constantly fighting, having a war inside of himself. And being with him was absolutely fascinating. I don't know how to say it, but this man captured my heart as another child would have. I just felt so bad for him. He was suffering so much. And in his suffering, he hurt a lot of people. But I knew why he was doing that. And so I tried in my play to show the good and the bad side of him and just come out with a composite character. And I sent this play to New York after my friend Tom Romano got his play um, uh, um, done by a group called AB Film Productions. And they don't just do film, they do plays, they do books, they do. The guy that directs is also teaches English in the New York schools. He's had 30 years of experience. And his brother, Frank, Tom's brother, Frank, first made the connection with him. Because Frank is a peacemaker in the Middle East. And he'd written a book called Storm Over Morocco, where he decided he wanted to belong to Islam. And he changed his mind after he was held captive in a mosque and told if he left, they would kill him. So he decided that religion wasn't for him. It sounds funny, but it was pretty good. He wrote this book. So, so Frank had got Tom in with this man, Alan Baxter, who runs the AB organization. And then I have never met him face to face, but I 7 years ago, I sent him a Spit in the Beer. He said he liked it. He wanted to produce it, but he didn't have a venue at the time. And would I have the patience to wait 5 years? And I told him there's no other place that would be good for this particular drama but New York. So I said, yeah, keep it, because I'm not sending it anywhere else. So 5 years goes by. The 6th year, Frank and Tom come to me and they say, I think Alan is ready to do your play. He's got a venue now and all this. So I said, fine. I said, I've been waiting a long time. And then they set a date in October to do it, this October, to 2025. But something happened and we couldn't do it. So we pushed it ahead to May. So it's going to be done May 2026 at a 100-seat venue in Manhattan. Because I've been writing since I was 11 years old, I have a way of keeping myself going. And that is, I have a workshop that I run. Before that, I used to go to somebody else's workshop and learn how to do that. And so because of the workshop, which meets every Wednesday, I keep writing because I have to have something to submit to the workshop. It keeps you writing. That's the main, and also we critique each other. And I have a great group of 4 people who are what I would say the best literary minds I've met. And they are, they are really good at helping a manuscript along. Sometimes I get irritated with them and I think, what the hell? Why are they saying this about my manuscript? And then I look at it and I realize I was prejudiced. And I thought it was good and it wasn't. And I take their advice and it's so much better. So the same things happened with my play that's going to be put on. I've gotten copious notes from Alan Baxter, and I have rewritten the play a great deal. I've knocked out some characters, and I realized I didn't need those characters. So now it's more streamlined. Sometimes I can't give something up. I just can't give it up. And I told Alan, there's one scene I can't give up. I know it doesn't push the play forward. It's supposed to do. But I can't give it up. So he was okay with that. It's just a short little scene, but it means a lot to me. Yes, my feelings go from I am the greatest, most intelligent playwright, novelist in the world to you are a cockroach. You don't know what you're doing. Listen to other people. And so that goes back and forth, Sometimes I was writing a screenplay in Los Angeles when I was down there in the 1980s, and I was taking care of a lady with bladder cancer. And she was a wonderful lady. I loved her. Uh, and I was writing this scene for what I now call Batty, which is a far out comedy. And I had just written what I thought was an extremely funny line, and I began to laugh. And she sticks her head into my bedroom and she says, "What are you laughing at?" I says, "Oh, I just written the most marvelous line in the world." And and she said, "Really, Ruth?" And I thought, she doesn't know what it feels like to write a great line. First of all, don't be afraid of writing things that are not your age related, because I'm still writing hot sex scenes. And everybody in my workshop says I write great sex scenes because I never forgot how it feels. And why not? It doesn't make any difference. As an actress, I never could get away with that. But as a 94-year-old old lady, I can. And I see a lot of that. Occasionally, somebody will write, written by a 90 so-and-so old lady. Can you imagine? And I'm thinking, yeah, I can imagine. And the other thing is never give up. Even if you've had rejection after rejection after rejection, just learn from it. Try to be humble about it, because, it's not every kind of critique you get, you should learn something from it. And sometimes you learn that it just has to be the slant that the person is looking at your work at. Because I just read over a couple of interviews and reviews that I got on my plays, and they were so different on the same play. They were so different. And I thought to myself, well, this person saw it this way, that person saw it that way. Which way is the way? Nothing. None. It doesn't matter at all. It matters, did you go out of the theater feeling something? And that's the playwright or the novelist's aim, is to make you feel differently, to see different ways of people living, and that's what I call thriving. You opened yourself up to new experiences, and you truly live deeply. The thriving artist that Leah Dougal has so well captioned in her naming of her organization, I think what she means is people that are still working at their art, and their life is enriched by it, and everybody around them is enriched by it. And to me, there's nothing beyond life. I happen to be a humanist, and I don't believe in heaven or God. I believe it's all right here on earth. And I think that's why we should live deeply and fully and enjoy each other and not fight with each other. So that's why, that's what's behind the Win Without War organization and all the peacemaking organizations that know that even in Greece in their golden age, there was no wars then. They were putting out plays and books and philosophy and statues and artist pictures. These were the things they did instead of warring with each other. And to me, that's life enhancing, and anything that's life enhancing, I'm for it.